Today from the Global Lane. After nearly 18 years, the Afghanistan war nears an end. Are the Afghan people better off? Members of Congress return to Washington. Is meaningful immigration reform even on their agenda? Corporate executives pushing social responsibility. But what about biblical responsibility? And anchor babies. Is it time to end U.S. birthright citizenship? And it's all right here on the Global Lane. America's longest-running war could be nearing an end. The United States has reached an agreement in principle with the Taliban to end the war in Afghanistan. It could mean the drawdown of more than 14,000 U.S. troops from that country. So after more than 18 years of war, what kind of future lies ahead for younger Afghans, those who have known nothing but war since their birth? Chuck Holton brings us that story from Kabul.
Each day before dawn, 10-year-old Cameron goes to work at a brick factory with his father and other relatives outside Kabul. Like many Afghan children, school is a luxury his family can no longer afford.
There was a time when my father was not able to earn enough money, and I had to leave school and start working with my father. So after I started working, I stopped going to school.
Atikula's family comes from a province where there's been heavy fighting and is a stronghold for both the Taliban and the Islamic State. Brick factory owners offer people here loans for basic necessities, forcing families to work them off during the summer months. Workers say a family of 10 can bring in an average of $12 to $18 a day.
My children wake up in the morning right after prayers and they come here for work, so they don't have time for school. These days, if you don't work, you can't survive. A bag of wheat flour is around $18 in the market. So if we all don't work, we won't be able to afford the $18 to buy it.
A UN report released last year shows more than 2 million Afghan children ages 6 to 14 are part of the workforce. Child labor laws are rarely enforced, especially in rural areas. Afghanistan's economy grew by only 2% last year, the slowest rate in South Asia. In addition to the lingering conflict and drought, Afghanistan is seen as among the most corrupt countries in the world. Much of the aid from the U.S. and other countries ends up in the hands of former warlords, who enjoy fortunes by living in gated compounds and cruising around in motorcades. This has led to widespread anger against elites here, leading to an increase in the ranks of the Taliban, which now controls about half the country. They've made headlines by negotiating with the U.S. to get foreign forces out of Afghanistan. A World Bank report from July shows an agreement with the Taliban could bring back the economy by encouraging the return of capital and skilled workers from overseas, but only if the security situation improves.
Chuck joins us now with more. Chuck, life is tough for the Afghans. What are the chances that things will get better once the United States draws down its troops?
Well, Gary, I think you have to look back at where they were before we came into that country. You can say that things have gotten better. I mean, the GDP is about 5 times what it was when it was in 2001. The life expectancy has gone from the mid-40s to the mid-60s. The plight of women has improved markedly. So I think that they have, if nothing else, sort of assimilated some of the Western culture into Afghan culture, and especially in the cities. They're not going to want to go back to where they were pre-2001. But when you get out into the countryside and the Taliban is the only, force of order in the country, I think it could very possibly go back to the way they were before, and that wasn't good at all. I think you're going to see a real spike in violence, Gary, when the U.S. leaves, just like we saw in Iraq when the U.S. pulled out. The Taliban has been flexing its muscles, but when we pull out, it's going to leave a vacuum. And that vacuum of power is going to get fought over by a whole bunch of different factions. Iran wants part of that. ISIS-K wants part of that. And the Taliban obviously wants to take control too. So there's going to be more violence, and I don't think there's much we can do about that. I don't think that necessarily means we need to stay. But, at somehow, some way, we've got to figure out a way to extricate ourselves from the problem that is Afghanistan and let them figure it out for themselves. The other big issue is that we're going to be taking $1 billion a week away from their economy, and that's not going to bode well for their economic situation.
What are the positives, Chuck, from the loss of American lives and treasure?
Well, I think what you have to look at is the fact that these troops have been safeguarding American values and the American way of life over there, and they have improved that country. Like I say, the GDP is much higher. The literacy rate has gone up more than double. And so, yes, we've improved things in that country. But the more important thing is that we have defended our way of life by fighting terrorism there. And it's the principle of the thing. And I think when you talk to the U.S. troops who have served there, that's what they'll tell you. They'll say, you know, even if it wasn't any better in Afghanistan now than it was in 2001, we fought for the principle of you attack us and we are going to come after you and we're going to hurt you very badly.
And what do the Afghans want to see happen?
Well, I mean, the Afghans actually would like us to stay. They don't really want us to leave, except for, of course, the enemy. They know that the Taliban, that life under the Taliban is very austere. It's very difficult. It's no fun at all. And so they would love to see America stay and continue to invest that kind of money that we've been investing for 18 years in their country. But we all know that that's not realistic, that at some point we've got to say enough is enough. And in reality, we will leave a few thousand troops in their country, and we still have the capability to come back anytime we want. And I've always said that should have been our message all along, is that if you mess with us, we're going to come reboot your country and wipe the slate clean, and then let you start over and build your country back any way that you want to. Doesn't have to be a Jeffersonian democracy, but if you become a threat to us, we'll be back.
And I'm assuming U.S. involvement won't end after a troop drawdown, correct? So what's the likely future role of the USA?
I think it'll continue to be the advise and assist mission. When Afghan troops want help, they call on us for help. I think we'll be there and willing to support them.
Chuck Holton, thanks for that excellent report and your additional insights.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Here, we're committed to a heritage of rigorous scholarship dating back over 1,000 years.
And to a faith tradition dating back 1,000 more.
This is how we create a culture of inquiry where no topic is off limits.
And a culture of hope.
Anything's possible!
It's Christian leadership.
And it's changing the world for the better.
It's higher learning.
It's greater knowing.
It's what makes us whole.
It's what makes us regent.
Now that members of Congress have returned to Washington from summer vacation, how likely are they to approve changes to U.S. immigration policy? Well, President Trump wants to end birthright citizenship. He also wants to end chain migration, and he's proposed enacting a merit-based immigration system. Well, joining us to share some insights is Maria Espinosa. She's National Director of the Remembrance Project. And Maria, I know you recently visited the ICE processing facility in Aurora. That center received a lot of criticism earlier this summer for its mistreatment of immigrants. What did you discover there?
My goodness, Gary, thanks so much for having me on again. Yes, we were able to tour the entire facility, and in the accommodations that these illegal aliens are obtaining from us, the American taxpayer, is unbelievable, where it's very well accommodating. I'll just tell you what we saw. When we first walked in, the hallways were nice and clean. And on the left, there were courtrooms. So there are 3 immigration judges there. On the right, there are about 30 staffers with the federal government who are there to watch over the GEO group and this ICE facility to be sure that our regulations are met and that the illegal aliens are treated very well. And believe me, they are treated very well. Listen to this. They have a dental office there, so they have free dental whenever they should need it. They have 2 medical doctors on staff with exam rooms, and again, very modern rooms, by the way. And they have a telepsychiatrist should they need someone to speak with. I saw a ping pong table, a weightlifting room. I saw 2 large cafeterias. On one side, one had 4 large television sets. Their meals happened to be delivered there at that time, and looking into their plate, there are 4 different healthy, certainly substantial amount of food on that plate.
Maria, it sounds to me like they're living a little better than some people in Appalachia.
And exactly, and this is it. Not only that, Gary, look, they have a law library and a subscription to LexisNexis that my organization, the Remembrance Project, cannot afford. And they have iPads that they can use to text message and get on social media and FaceTime with family members.
Maria, I want to move on a little bit because I know that President Trump wants to end birthright citizenship. He wants to do it by executive order, and many people say, well, that won't hold up in court. But do you think it would be better to do it legislatively? What are your thoughts?
Well, right now, as you have seen in the past election cycle, the House turned over to Democrats. However, Gary, when former Speaker House Paul Ryan was leading the House, he did nothing. He sat on his hands. So I think legislatively and going through Congress will not work, because you do have those open border U.S. chambers of commerce, special interest groups like the construction industry who want that illegal alien low wage earner here, and they're not going to do anything to disrupt their profits. And we have to think about this. The 14th Amendment was not set for people who cross into our country illegally. So they're refusing, these far left socialists and some very moderate open border Republicans, they refuse to enforce our borders and enforce existing laws.
Maria, I want to talk to you about 7 separate sex crime cases since late July involved illegal immigrants, and that was reported in Montgomery County, Maryland. That's in about a month, a little over a month. That's just one U.S. county in America. I know that you represent families of victims of illegal immigrant crime. What needs to be done to reduce that risk?
Great question. But, Gary, one of the items that we found when we first did our research in these illegal alien killings was that rape and child molestation within that illegal alien demographic was very high, and especially in North Carolina. But look how far Maryland is from our southern border. So that's nothing new to us. And again, if we have to enforce our existing laws, we have to vet people here. We cannot allow illegal aliens to gain work here. We cannot allow illegal aliens on our welfare system that allows them to remain into our country. And they know, Gary, that they are above the law here in the United States of America. And no one is above the law. Citizens don't expect that type of, treatment when they do something wrong. They know there's repercussions and they are held accountable. But these illegal aliens are so emboldened that, look, the entire Democrat Party has taken up the torch for them, and some Republicans as well. So enforce the law, follow our U.S. Constitution, and place Americans first, especially American safety.
And finally, Maria, we're running out of time, but what do you think may happen? Well, now that Congress is back in session, will they move on immigration reform? before the November 2020 election?
Well, I think what the Democrats are going to do is push very hard to abolish ICE, which is our only, safety net here and against this illegal immigration crossings. But, people out there, all your listeners, your viewers must be very vocal and very visible. We have to push back on this. Obviously, we have to elect good candidates for every single position locally all the way to federal level. So I think that we have to continue our calls and let President Trump know that we demand that our borders are secured. And your representatives, and like one family member said, hound them, hound them, hound them. We cannot let up, and this is a very important election.
Okay, Marie Espinosa, the Remembrance Project, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Gary.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com. Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs, from health to entertainment, you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place, from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Check your local listings or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
With all the news lately about Trump's trade war with China, you may have missed this one. A group of corporate executives recently signed a statement prioritizing social goals alongside company profits. So why is this significant? Dan Celia is with us to explain. He's president and CEO of Financial Issues Stewardship Ministries. Okay, Dan. Corporate execs, Jeff Bezos of Amazon, Apple's Tim Cook, 200 other business leaders, now say their companies must not only be accountable to shareholders, they must also be socially responsible. And I know that you say there's a difference between being socially responsible and biblically responsible. So what's the difference?
Well, there's a huge difference between the two. Number one is we don't want companies to invest money in things that are dishonoring or grieving the heart of God. And we talk about that to corporate executives on a regular basis. But this is well beyond that. This has nothing. Remember, the world thinks that it's socially responsible to fund Planned Parenthood, to allow the use of marijuana and those kinds of things. What they believe is socially responsible or socially acceptable, pornography on the internet, and there's no reason why they can't support that or fund that, those kinds of things. Now we have a whole nother level of socially responsible things in that corporate America, or at least 200 corporate executives and more to follow, are saying that that should be a priority for us, even more so than the bottom line of our company. After all, they're hired and responsible for adding value to their company, to make sure that the stockholders are receiving value, that they are growing their company, not worried about what they are doing socially. And I think this is a huge, huge problem for corporate America.
Can we be both socially responsible and biblically responsible?
Absolutely, we can. But even at that, it shouldn't be hold priority over what they do. In other words, if they build bulldozers, all I ask them to do is stay out of the culture war on the right and the culture war on the left. Just build bulldozers. I try every day to appeal to corporate America to be biblically responsible. Don't support with my money. So if I'm a stockholder, right, I have ownership in that company, don't support those things that are grieving the heart of God. Why are we supporting those things? You're supposed to be doing whatever it is you're doing, but don't support those. Now, if you want to support those, you're going to support the church, I still would have a problem with it, but they are supporting what the minority, small minority of Americans and an even smaller minority of stockholders really care about.
I'm sure a lot of us that have stocks invest in companies like Apple and others that may be supporting Planned Parenthood, and we don't know about that.
Well, we do that, Gary, all the time, and that's one of the things that we teach in our ministry is not to do that. We ask people not to do that.
I can't let you go without asking you about one of the top headlines we keep seeing almost daily: recession fears growing, global recession coming, all the red flag signs are there. Are those fears overblown, or is it just wishful thinking on the part of some Democrats who want to see Trump's reelection chances hurt? What do you think, Dan?
It is wishful thinking among the mainstream media. They want to try to create a self-fulfilling prophecy. They know that the one way, or at least they believe the one way they can get Donald Trump out of office is if there's a recession. We have to go back to Roosevelt to find a president that was reelected during a recession. Well, it's not going to happen this year. It's virtually impossible at this point to have a technical recession. A recession, Gary, for all of your viewers, is two consecutive quarters with negative GDP growth. Well, the chances of us having the third and fourth quarter in negative GDP growth, certainly the third quarter at this point, is almost impossible. That's not too likely. So best case for the left would be the end of March. We officially go into recession, but that's not likely either. So it is a desperate attempt for creating so much negativity, and it is possible, it's been done before, that we could actually see us slip into recession. Won't be this year, but it could be at maybe the worst time next year from an election perspective.
Dan Celia, Financial Issues Stewardship Ministries. Thanks, Dan, for sharing your insights. We appreciate you.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket
right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to cbnnewschannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News.
It's time to end automatic citizenship for anchor babies. The United States and Canada are the only Western countries that grant birthright citizenship. About 160 countries worldwide don't allow it. Do they know something we don't know? Yes, it's time to make a change. I know what some people are saying, but what about the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution? It was ratified just after the Civil War in 1868. It says, quote, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. So that means even babies born to illegal immigrants are given citizenship because, as the amendment states, all persons born in the United States are citizens. But wait a minute. We have to understand the intent of this amendment. When it was ratified, slaves had just been freed. Up until then, they were considered as property. They had no rights. Without the amendment, they would not have been treated as citizens. They would not have been granted equal protection under the Constitution. Here's what President Trump said recently about birthright citizenship.
You walk over the border, have a baby. Congratulations, the baby is now a U.S. citizen. It's frankly ridiculous.
He's right. According to the Center for Immigrant Studies, in 2014, 297,000 babies were born to illegal immigrants. That was 7.5% of all babies born in the United States that year, more than the total number of births in 16 states, plus the District of Columbia combined. And often taxpayers foot the bill. CIS estimates the annual cost to nearly $2.5 billion. But folks, the president wants to end birthright citizenship by executive order. Mr. President, such a move will likely be ruled unconstitutional. You can't amend the U.S. Constitution with a stroke of your pen. Our Constitution requires that it be amended by the states. 38 of 50 must approve such a change. So, if this is an issue important to the future of the country, the intent of the 14th Amendment must be clarified or amended. Mr. President, take the case to the public. Help us understand why all of us, not you alone, must make that change. Well, that's it from the Global Lane. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, and Twitter. And until next time, be blessed.